Hey, it's David Sherry, coach to founders and entrepreneurs. Today, I want to talk about the cost of being emotionally closed off, which is something that you experience both in business and in life. And it's surprising because we are so focused on our work, we're so focused on performing and creating results that oftentimes we don't really realize that something else is missing. Something else that's missing that is really a key factor for our enjoyment and our experience of life that we cannot get from our work. This is something that you simply are not able, no matter how successful you are, no matter how much you create, you're never able to get connection from your work. And connection is a core need that we have. You might not remember that. You might not fully understand that. Maybe it's something that you're not getting enough of right now. And so it's a little bit hard to even resonate with what I'm saying right now. But connection itself is a core need. And when you get it, you almost feel like you just had a glass of water after being in the desert. And it's only recently that I have spent time with entrepreneurs and founders who are not only successful, but are excellent communicators and therefore excellent at being open enough to connect with one another that I realized a lot of what I've been missing. And this is something I remember seeing early on. There was an entrepreneur who was very wealthy who invited me over to his house with a group of other entrepreneurs. And it was really interesting the way that the dinner conversation, it went from talking about things that were strategic in business to talking about things that were much, much more personal, much more vulnerable. And as I watched all these much older than me entrepreneurs at the time shift their dialogue from strategy and business to openness about the struggles they were having, what I realized was, oh, wow, a lot of these people have not had a space where they've been able to communicate and connect with other people about their experience. And this is one of the struggles that driven people often have, that entrepreneurs often have, is they're not able to frequently have conversations that are much more connected with their employees, with their even friends and family sometimes, because there's so much in the persona of being the entrepreneur that they put up a guard and a wall from actually creating connection. So I want to talk about that a little bit today and some things that you can do about that. And I want to start by talking about the ways in which we seek connection that are indirect. You'd think that if we're seeking connection, if we're feeling disconnected from other people, disconnected from our relationships because we're so focused on our work, you would think that we might seek that out directly, that we might just go book some time with friends and really recharge our cup. The problem is we don't always seek connection in a very direct way. Instead of seeking in a direct way, we seek it in an indirect way, in these strange ways. So one example is we feel that worrying about other people equals connection. Maybe you felt this in your family before, that if I'm really worried and stressed about others, if I'm caring about others by being fearful about what might happen, then in some ways, I am more connected to them. I'm taking care, I'm providing for them. I'm able to be the provider and therefore I'm connecting. The problem is that's not really connection. Connection is the shared experience that you have with another person where you feel seen, where they feel seen, where you feel each other's full presence. And just worrying about somebody and talking with them about the things that you're taking care of on their behalf is not really connection. Another way that we need connection, or that we try and create connection that isn't exactly direct, is we feel very good about giving, but we don't feel so good about receiving. So this could just be in conversation. You're very good at asking questions. You're very good at putting the spotlight on the other person. You're very good at being the one who is the listener and not the speaker, or maybe it's the other way around. Because of that, you're not actually getting two different directions of experience with another person. You're not getting connection. You're not giving and receiving connection. You're simply doing it one way or the other. You're comfortable being in the spotlight, or you're comfortable not being in the spotlight. Again, we think that if we play that role with the other person, That's what's going to create connection. But it's not full connection. It's not this experience of openness and vulnerability with someone else that leads to this feeling. So a simple way to understand connection, if you're not really following this completely, is imagine you went to church or you went to a family gathering or you got together with a bunch of old friends and you spent the night laughing. That feeling you have when you're done, when you leave the experience and you just feel very full, very whole, very complete, that's being filled up by connection. And it's hard to get this in the workplace because there's so many other things going on that we forget that connection is a piece of the puzzle that not only our employees want, but we want as well. So once you start to taste getting a bit more connection from different people in your life or giving and receiving connection from different people in your life, I think you're going to realize it's something that you actually really want more of. And it's something that you almost start to get a little bit addicted to. And I think it's a good addiction, which I've talked about in previous videos. You can have good addictions, things that you want more of and they feel satisfying. And it's okay to keep continuing to give and receive more and more of this positive aspect in your life. So what can you do to create a bit more connection today? The strange thing is it starts by connecting to yourself. If you're only seeking connection outside, but you're not connected to yourself, it's going to be very difficult to be available for other people. By checking in with how you're feeling, by checking in with what you're thinking about, by checking in with where you're really at, then you can share with other people what it is that you're feeling and experiencing. And vulnerably sharing what it is that you're feeling and experiencing is a way to create connection with other people. The problem is it starts by understanding for yourself, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is my experience? What am I wanting more of? The more authentically you get connected to yourself, the easier it's going to be to authentically connect with others. The more you are in a persona of who you think you're supposed to be, either for yourself or for others, the more disconnection you're going to have. So what I recommend as a very simple place to start is in your next introduction portion of a meeting. You're meeting someone new, you've got something scheduled. Usually you do small talk for the first 5 minutes. My invitation for you is how can you start the session, the meeting with a client, with your team, whoever, with a bit more connection? What would you do to create more connection to start the rest of the conversation? And can you stay grounded in what you're actually experiencing in that process as a way to offer that up? So don't just go through the motions and say, how are you? Where are you from? Really try and connect with where you're at, what's exciting, what questions you want to ask, and see how that builds some trust and connection before you move on to the rest of the dialogue or the rest of the business meeting. So go out, see if you can get a bit more connection. Let me know how that goes for you. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to leave them below. And I'll be back again very soon. Later.